Welcome to Why Where Matters. My name is Paul E Zieske, and I'm going to be your host. This is the intro episode. If you're interested in learning how location technologies can dramatically improve operations, you're in the right place. Location-based services is set for a sea change because of the emergence of AI. This is because when people think of location-based services, they think about tracking technologies like real-time locator system, RTLS, and RFID. When you think about these technologies, they're really sensors. They're location sensors, and sensors is one thing AI does really well. Mostly we're going to talk about hospital operations, but you'll get to see these ideas can apply anywhere that motion is a big part of operations. In Why Where Matters, I'm going to give you a view into this tech at different levels of depth. I don't want to leave people out, so there'll be content if you just want to dip your toe in to check it out, or shallow wade to learn more, or a deep dive to understand how to get started with this new approach. I'm going to put out content that gets into enough depth so you can see how doable this all is, and also not to go so deep as to miss the vision for what can be accomplished. I want this to be a resource for information on everything from why does an RFID need batteries to how can I start implementing enterprise traffic control. Every technology has trade-offs, and quite often the flaw is not understanding the trade-offs well enough to properly implement or design a system. Sometimes a viable technology gets a bad rap because it wasn't implemented correctly or the wrong expectations were set. And don't get me wrong, I'm not here to lower expectations. On the contrary, I expect we'll be raising the bar. I started my career in radar for Westinghouse and eventually the FAA in air traffic control. Controllers were trained on how the radar works, not just how to keep the dots from bumping into each other. An airplane has several ways that it can be tracked, and each way participates in making the system smarter. Radar is not super accurate, but is it effective? It's extremely effective because it's part of a much greater system. We live in a world where I can track an iPhone in a building so accurately that I can see which side of the hall you're on. I can track that iPhone with no new infrastructure with Apple's Indoors product. I can put a beacon on an IV pump, and that iPhone we just talked about can tell me where that IV pump is. I can count how many of those pumps are in a utility closet with an RTLS. Thermal sensors can see how many people are seated around a patient bed and see that the patient is in the bed. I can also see one of those IV pumps is in the room with the patient and the people in the room. These are just a few of the examples of sensing that's available at a nominal cost. These technologies work well, but they're only senses. I can't count on the phone to tell me when the pump is in the closet or in a patient room. I can't count on the thermal sensor to tell me if the heat signature is a nurse or the patient's family. But if I do it right, I can make sure that the nurse always has a clean pump waiting in the closet. I can find pumps that need to be cleaned. I can see that the patient is lying on the floor with no one else in the room. The next generation of location-based services is going to be about modeling these spaces in a way that mirrors human cognition. We have our sensory memory where we can see, hear, feel, and smell. Those senses are worthless without semantic or working memory where we add context and process what's coming in from our senses. Then we can store those impressions in our long-term memory where it can be used for future reference. These are the same steps that are used in AI and robotic systems. And that's what's exciting about location-based services in general. We have the makings for creating a digital twin that's a virtual representation of these spaces where these amazing people are doing the work of healing. The raw materials are there for adding situational awareness and automation and making these places intelligent so they serve the people working in them. We can help them by lifting much of the effort that's part of care and giving them more time back with the patient. We can make support services that are so important to operations much more efficient. I've been working in location services, systems engineering, and improvement for over 34 years. In Why Where Matters, I want to share what I've learned, but not just me. I'll be inviting others who are experts in the space to share as well. I'll be introducing something called enterprise traffic control. In healthcare, you may have heard it called care traffic control. And in the past, it was used as a marketing term, but we're going to define it here in this series. With its roots in air traffic control, enterprise traffic control helps address the complexity and creates significant increases in productivity in an environment where there's a vast amount of motion. We've been talking about this for years, and everyone has a little bit different vision for what care traffic control is. What's become clear is that it needed to be defined. We're going to use enterprise traffic control to frame the topic of location-based services. I'll discuss improvement as much as we talk about technology. I'll have instructional videos, interviews, and other resources that can be used to start this journey for customers, improvers, and vendors. So please join us and reach out if you feel so inclined. We're passionate about this mission and the Why Where Matters slogan of putting improvement into motion.
You know who made